History is a story written in blood and ambition, on landscapes that remember the tread of armies long turned to dust. To understand the Abbasids, you have to feel the desert wind of the 8th century, a wind carrying whispers of discontent across a vast empire. This was the Umayyad Caliphate, a sprawling dominion that stretched from the shores of Spain to the frontiers of India. It was a mighty power, an Arab-centric empire ruled from the ancient city of Damascus. Yet for all its might, a deep-seated resentment simmered just beneath the surface, a dangerous pressure building year on year. It was a story of promises broken, of faith and power intertwined. In the remote, rugged lands of Khorasan, in what is now parts of Iran, Afghanistan, and Central Asia, these grievances found fertile ground. It was here in these distant eastern provinces that a new banner was being secretly unfurled. It was a black banner, a symbol of mourning for the family of the Prophet, but also a potent emblem of revolution. The movement was orchestrated by the descendants of the Prophet's uncle, Al-Abbas ibn Abd al-Muttalib. They were the Abbasids. They were clever, patient, and masters of propaganda. Abbasid agents, cloaked in secrecy, moved through the towns and villages of the East, spreading their message of a new dawn. They promised a messianic leader, a Mahdi, who would restore justice and righteousness to the world. The black banners were being stitched, the followers were gathering, and the stage was being set for a confrontation that would change the world forever. The spark that finally ignited the flames of open rebellion was a man named Abu Muslim. In the year 747, under the cloak of night, he raised the black banners, and the whispers of revolution became a roar of open war. The Battle of the Zab in 750 was the decisive moment, the final bloody reckoning. On the banks of the great Zab River, the last great Umayyad Caliph, Marwan II, threw his forces against the revolutionary army. The result was an unmitigated disaster for the ruling dynasty. The Umayyad forces were shattered, their spirit broken. Marwan II fled the field, a hunted fugitive in his own empire. With the Umayyads vanquished, the Abbasids needed more than just a new government. They needed a new heart for their empire. The new caliph, Al-Mansur, decided to build a new capital from scratch. He chose a site on the west bank of the mighty Tigris River. He would call his city Madinah al-Salam, the city of peace. But to the world it would become known by the name of the small Persian village that once stood there, Baghdad. The city was conceived as a perfect circle, over a kilometer in diameter, a design with no precedent in Arab Islamic tradition, but echoing the circular cities of ancient Persia. It was a universe with the caliph at its absolute center. 4 massive walls punctuated by 4 grand gates, named for the destinations they faced, Kufa, Basra, Khorasan, and Damascus, enclosed the city. At the very heart of the circle, accessible to none but the most trusted, stood the caliph's magnificent palace, the Golden Gate, and the Grand Mosque. Baghdad wasn't just a fortress or an administrative hub. It quickly became a magnet for the brightest and best. Once built, it became a vibrant, thriving metropolis, the largest city in the world. The rise of Baghdad marked the beginning of something truly extraordinary. As the political turmoil of the revolution settled, the Abbasid Caliphate entered a period of unprecedented prosperity and intellectual ferment. The Abbasid caliphs, particularly luminaries like Harun al-Rashid and his son al-Mamun, saw themselves not just as rulers and military commanders, but as patrons of knowledge and the arts. The invention of paper-making, a technology captured from Chinese prisoners of war, was a revolution in itself. Suddenly, knowledge could be recorded, copied, and disseminated on a scale never before imagined. At the very epicenter of this intellectual explosion was a single, legendary institution, the Bait al-Hikmah, the House of Wisdom. More than just a library, it was a grand academy, a translation bureau, and a research institute all rolled into one. It was a true melting pot of minds, where Muslim, Christian, and Jewish scholars worked side by side, united by a common language, Arabic, and a shared passion for knowledge. Attached to the House of Wisdom were astronomical observatories, where scholars mapped the stars with unprecedented accuracy. They calculated the circumference of the Earth with remarkable precision. In the field of mathematics, there was Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi, a Persian scholar at the House of Wisdom, whose name gave us the word algorithm. His revolutionary book introduced systematic methods for solving linear and quadratic equations. In medicine, figures like Al-Razi, known in the West as Rhazes, were true pioneers. He was a master clinician who wrote over 200 books, including a comprehensive medical encyclopedia used in European universities for centuries. These scholars, Al-Kindi the philosopher, Ibn Hayyan the father of chemistry, Al-Zarawi the surgeon, were not just footnotes in history. They were the architects of a new world of thought. No empire, no matter how brilliant, is eternal. Even at the height of its golden age, the Abbasid Caliphate was showing signs of stress. The very vastness of the empire made it incredibly difficult to govern. Local governors and ambitious military commanders, far from the caliph's watchful eye, began to carve out their own hereditary dynasties. The political unity of the Islamic world began to fray at the edges. A more profound challenge to the caliph's power came from his own army. The caliphs began to create professional armies composed of Turkic slave soldiers, known as Mamluks. Over time, these powerful military corps became the true power behind the throne. The end did not come as a slow fade, but as a cataclysmic storm. In the early 13th century, a new power erupted out of the steppes of Mongolia, a force of unprecedented ferocity and discipline led by Genghis Khan. By the 1250s, the Mongol horde, now led by Genghis Khan's grandson Hulagu, had swept through Persia and stood at the gates of Mesopotamia. In January 1258, the Mongol army laid siege to Baghdad. The city that had stood for 500 years as the center of the Islamic world was woefully unprepared. After less than 2 weeks, the city surrendered. What followed was one of the greatest cultural disasters in human history. Hulagu Khan, enraged by the caliph's defiance, unleashed his army on the defenseless city for a week of unrestrained destruction. The great libraries, including the irreplaceable House of Wisdom, were utterly destroyed. Countless thousands of priceless books and manuscripts were thrown into the Tigris River. It is said that the river ran black with the ink of the books and red with the blood of the slaughtered scholars. With the caliph's death, the Abbasid Caliphate of Baghdad was extinguished. It was the end of an era. The great city, the round city of peace, the heart of the golden age, had been silenced. Yet the knowledge it had created and nurtured had already spread, its light having reached other lands, ensuring that even in its destruction, the legacy of the Abbasids would in some way endure forever.